All right. I believe we are in. You are watching Encounter Roleplay. And this is Wheels of War, a tale of epic battles and political backstabbing set in Dungeons & Dragons' original game world, the world of Greyhawk. And this is my first time running a show here on Encounter Roleplay. I am super nervous. My name is DM Shane. You can find me on the Twitters at Mage and Sage. And I hope you'll go and follow me there. I have an epic tale to tell, but more importantly, I have an epic cast with whom to share this story. Some of them you know, and some of them are new to the channel, but I'm going to go around the circle and let everyone introduce themselves and tell about that much about their character. We're going to start with you, Alex, and we will go clockwise thereafter. That clockwise. All right. There we go.
That clockwise. The
yes.
Left. Okay, I am Alex. You can find me on Twitter at AlexCatu. I am playing Lady Vi. She is a cleric, and that's all you're getting.
I think that's just fine. That's just fine. Eugenio!
Hello, everybody. I'm Eugenio. I am playing Tirimo Cantilla. He is a gray elf wizard, and apparently that's all you get.
I guess that's all you get. And we've been following each other on the Twitters for a long time, but this is the first time I've spoken your name out loud, and I botched it, dude. Can you give me a tutorial real quick?
I can. It's Eugenio. So the first is Eu, like EU, and then Genio with an H. Genio.
Eugenio.
That's it.
Good. Eugenio.
I was just telling these guys earlier, I will happily explain that to you 100 times, as long as it means that you're asking to do it right.
Necessary.
I prefer, that's fine. I prefer that to just getting it wrong all the time and not asking.
Good to know. Eugenio. And yes. What about you, Tia, with the fabulous anime hair? Tell us what you can tell us.
I am going to be playing an elven druid of happiness and love and accepting. No, just kidding. I'm playing a dark elf arcane trickster, Ilivara. And apparently that's all you get.
Everyone, you probably made about half the regular viewers of this channel pee before you revealed, oh wait, no, that's not it. All right, what about you, Josh?
I am actually stepping outside my comfort zone, and I am playing my first paladin ever in the world, and it's gonna go really well. I know how to paladin. Hey.
Yeah. I can paladin. What about you, Kevin?
Hi, I'm playing a Tabaxi monk, Shuroi Gato. This is my first time diving into the monk class, so that's gonna be just interesting. Just figuring out the nooks and crannies of key points, and that's all you're getting for right now.
Yeah, well, I hope you enjoy exploring the nooks and crannies of your Tabaxi. And yeah, I hate monks. Stunning Strike is the bane of my existence. All right, let's talk about sponsors. And I'm just going to flat out admit, since the first time I'm on the channel, I'm just reading this. Fantasy Grounds is our virtual tabletop of choice. So all of the roles and interaction you see going on today are in Fantasy Ground, which you can try for free at fantasygrounds.com. And you can also get all of your miniatures from Wayland Games. Go to waylandgames.co.uk and get all your stuff, a huge range, Warhammer, 40K, and your minis will be 20% off. And finally, my good friends, Tabletop Loot, have so many awesome, fantastic dice. We give them away here on Encounter Roleplay when we hit our different stream goals. So go to tabletoploot.com and see what you could win every session. How does that work? I think you use exclamation point sponsor in chat.
We'll probably come in at a chat, and give us everything that we need. Look at that, there it is. He's already on it.
Ask, and you shall receive. All right, a few things that are totally new to me and are going to make my head swim. When we hit 20 retweets, we give away a set of Tabletop Loot dice. And when we hit 20 retweets on this tweet, let's see if that pops up somehow magically, we'll give away our first set. So fantastic. And of course, you can donate to affect the game, giving players nat 1s, nat 20s, wild magic surges, and this month's special, the Table of Pets, which I know nothing about. So that's going to be fantastic.
It sounds terrible.
Yes, it does.
The Table of Pets. It sounds almost like a social disease. Anyway, so that's our list of sponsors. Let's get one last comment from the cast. Let's go around the circle the other way, starting with Tia. Tia, what are your hopes for this game? Oh, put her on the spot.
My hopes or Ilivara's hopes?
Let's go with yours to start with.
My hope is that we all get along and have a great time and everybody enjoys the role play. That's my hope. I hope that none of us have any infighting and that everybody has fun.
Yeah, let's not have the fighting, please.
Yeah.
I actually have never experienced that since my online in Twitch, so I don't know why I threw that out there.
Why not? Maybe you
just I started playing on Twitch, I
Oh.
never had a single problem. So I guess that's what I'm hoping for, is that the good streak continues.
There you go.
Yeah. I've had a good streak as well, so I'm feeling good about this. What about you, Josh? As you consider what's going on, I know you and I have talked a lot about your character and backstory. What are your hopes for the game?
My hopes are that I can do the paladin things and stuff.
I hope I can.
My ambition is to do paladin, and that is all I'm looking for right in this moment. Is to hit things loudly and brashly, and that's it.
With a divine flourish.
With a divine flourish.
Fantastic. Kevin, one of my hopes for the game has already been realized in the actual, with my eyes, sighting of your mustache, man. Epic in the extreme. Tell us briefly about it, and then tell me about your hopes for the game.
Yeah, it's taken a good... I spent years mastering its growth. Not just kidding, but yeah, I'm just hoping we get some nice highlight moments for my guy, and he might come off a little harsh at the top, but we'll see how it goes as we get through the campaign. And yeah, just hoping for some nice, epic shot moments that could potentially be arted in the future, but we'll see what happens.
Is it a monk stash? Is that what it is? A monk stash?
Can I edit what I want for this campaign? I want all of the wild magic surges. I want all of them. I want all 10,000.
Damn it.
I have to admit, I am terrified.
That's what I want.
Terrified. I planned this whole campaign, and then from what I'm hearing from you guys, what the heck? Anyway.
Godspeed.
Burn it down.
Godspeed. Yeah. Speaking of burn it down, what about you, Alex?
Did we skip one?
Yes, and I like it.
Oh, wait, I thought it... I'm sorry. I got confused.
No, I like it.
You got confused because I ruined the order by jumping back in. It's all my fault.
Totally. One thing that you guys will know that all of my other players know, I am notorious for skipping people. Don't take it personally or you'll hate me.
All right.
You're a skipper. So is it me?
You would like to step in?
I'll go. Great. So what do I hope for this game? So one, I hope that I can handle being a player without having a nervous breakdown because I don't know everything. Because I haven't been a player ever on stream and in any game for quite some time. So personally, that's my hope. Also, I've never played a sort of utility character. A little bit of more about Tirimo is that he's a divination wizard, and I'm super excited to explore using his spells and abilities outside of combat in cool storytelling ways.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
And now I will give it to you, Alex. This is for real you.
Thank you. Really? This is for real this time? Okay.
I believe so.
Well, out of this campaign, I Hope we don't all die immediately and have to reroll level 10 characters because that was stressful.
Yeah.
And I hope I can. I've never played a cleric before either, so I hope I can get my head around the 300,000 things that she can do and all of these spells. All of these spells. I normally play like barbarians, so
Yeah.
we'll see how this goes.
Tomato, tomato.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have messed around long enough. I believe we have a story to tell, my dear friends.
Yes.
So thus begins Wheels of War. You stand facing the Vang River, and the first thing that you think as you stare out across the river and see an impenetrable wall of fog is that you have never heard 600 soldiers stand so silently. The fear in this army at your backs is palpable. Because through the fog on the other side of the river, maybe just 100 feet away, shapes are moving. Some of them small, but they scamper in a disturbing manner. Some of them mammoth, lumbering with footfalls that you can hear all the way on the other side of the river. And hearing the laughing, the gibbering, the strange, surely infernal noises, the howls, and underneath them, cries of pain, wails of children, and the smell. It smells like a slaughterhouse. You are looking at the banks of the Shieldlands, the once noble nation, but even the soil you can see on the other side of the water is corrupted and gray. To your back, the noble nation of Furiondi, and a small contingent of its troops all stand ready to defend Crockport Bridge. Whatever came pouring out of the north, out of the lands of Euse the Evil, laid waste to the Shieldlands, and you barely escape. You look to your right and to your left, and you see a handful of companions that you've known for days only. A strange set of companions, a drow, a tiefling, a tabaxi, an elf, and an Aasimar. An unlikely team. You don't know anything about them. You certainly don't trust them. But in moments like this, anyone who is not on the other side of this bridge is an ally. 5 feet in front of you, just before the bridge, stands Lord Grievering, the leader of Furiondi's knights. He looks to the right and to the left, and then he cries out in a heraldic voice to his men. We hold the line! Your mothers and fathers, your children and wives depend upon what we do here at the Vang. We will not let them cross. For Furiondi! And the reply that comes from the army at your back seems disturbingly lackluster. For Furiondi! And then you hear woof, woof, woof. There is some huge batting of wings. The fog begins to part. The entire army holds its breath. In this moment, do any of you want to say anything to each other or to Lord Grievering?
I would actually like to, hearing the sort of lackluster call behind us after Lord Grievering tried to rouse his men, I would actually like to, I assume I'm familiar with the sort of crest of Furiondi, so I would like to cast Silent Image and make a big image of the crest sort of shining in a glorious light above the soldiers to try and give them heart.
Oh, nice. So suddenly, shimmering in the air, transposed between this cowering army and the wall of fog across the river, the well-known and beautiful heraldry of the nation of Furiondi flutters in the wind. A half moon downturned over blue above 3 crowns in red. And at that, you hear some conversation between the men, and you begin to hear clink, clink, clink. Somewhere deep within the troops, someone is beginning to smash a spear against a shield. Clang, clang, clang. And you hear a voice rise towards you. What of the shield lands? And you know that half of your army are made up of refugees of the shield land. This order of paladins that have been routed from their homes.
All right.
Anyone want to say anything in response? Clink, clink, clink.
Yeah. My tabaxi just turns back to the forces and we say, "We've all lost our homes to this wench. It's time we make a stand." And I pull out my sword, I raise it up and I say, "For Perrinland! For Shek! For Kershane!" I'm trying to boost up the morale of everybody behind us.
Let's do a persuasion check for that.
All right. I'm not perception. I don't have persuasion.
You're not persuasive?
Right.
Let's see.
Right, let's see. All right. Putting this modifier. Rolling. That's a 15.
A 15. You do hear a mutter of growled assent from the men at your backs. And now this chant is spreading throughout. Chang, chang. They're stomping their feet. And it seems as if the gibbering, the howling, the laughing from across the river has faded, but still the wings woof, woof, are beating, and the fog is beginning to swirl. And then suddenly, blasting out of the fog, running towards the bridge, there is a collection of 20, maybe 30 women and children, all bound to one another in a line, tied with tight ropes. They are clearly battered and abused in the extreme. Most are weeping. They begin crossing the 70-foot bridge, heading towards Lord Grievering. Lord Grievering turns to the right and to the left. "Archers at the ready!" You hear the stretch of twine as the bows are pulled back. And then, woof, 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 flying high above the fog now, you see some sort of great winged beast. Massive, tattered wings. And this form, as it plunges down towards the bridge, you have a moment to think, that's a dragon. No, but it's dead. And then, with a howl of cries and weeping, the dragon lands on the hostages. Many of them burst like grapes. Several of them are thrown over into the Ving. Not an entire body left among them. And on top, on top of this creature, you now hear laughter. See if I've got this set up right. You hear a howling cackle. And the dragon lowers his head, and on top of it you see a robed figure. And he says, all of the clanking, all of the stomping stops. And in a voice that carries over the whole crowd, you hear, "Greetings from the Lord of Pain. from the Old One, from the Master of the Hierarchs. Use the Old. I graciously offer you now this opportunity to lay down your arms and yield for mercy, for the Old One is merciful to those who grovel at his withered feet. Will you yield?
Oh, darling. Even you and that pile of bones will not be the first one that I've raised nor buried deep in the ground. You should be the one that yields. Do you know who stands before you? And she thrusts out a hip and flicks back her hair. I'm Ilivara, and I've got a job to do, and you're in my way.
Yeah.
Didimo
Lord
can't help but
Grievering.
grin, even though it's like, oh, here we go. But he sort of loves it.
Yeah.
Lord Grievering looks over his shoulder at you. You can tell by his expression, he doesn't know what to make of you, of any of you. And all of you know you have known him for approximately 3 days. But clearly, some of you because of your position with the king, some of you because of the way you have demonstrated yourselves useful, all of you stand at his back. And he turns slowly back towards this herald on an undead red dragon and says, King Belvor the Fourth of Furiandi sends you his love.
All right.
And at that, voof, 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 all of the soldiers begin to cry out. The fog across the river has dissipated, and you see more orcs and goblins and evil mercenaries that can be counted, but worse, great lumbering forms, not of this world, spawn of the abyss, almost caring not whose side they're on, as you see one of them pluck up a goblin, screaming and crying, and pop him into his gaping maw. You can almost hear his bones crunch. And the figure
This is
on
why I
the
left.
dragon.
I'd like to
Anything
drop
else
fairy
you'd like to
fire
say
on the
to one
bridge
another?
while he's posturing
On the bridge, I love it.
on the bridge. Well, because it goes in a certain. So if there's anybody invisible around him, I'm hoping to hit the dragon and the person riding it on top of him, and just kind of give everybody advantage on attacks.
He looks around as suddenly a glimmer swirls around him, almost with an adhesive property sticking to his skin. He smears at it, stretching his wrinkled face, and then looks down at all of you.
It's first glowing a dark purple, and as he's saying that and try to spread it off, as he goes to spread it, the flame turns hot pink and just very effeminate colors as he tries to swirl it off of him. Darling, that is definitely your color. Very frightening.
Nice work.
At this
Rob.
point, yeah. At this point, the tiefling standing kind of in the middle of all you guys says quite calmly and quietly, I have seen his brand of mercy, and I'm having none of it. And I'm going to cast heroism on all of us. Well, I'm going to hold it for when everything starts moving, but you can start to feel the effect of it. You can feel yourself getting approximately 5 temporary hit points stronger.
If you had to measure, if you had to guess.
If you had to measure, approximately 5 temporary hit points stronger, and you are immune to being frightened. Which dragon? That's a good thing. But I'm gonna hang on to it, and the instant people start surging forward, that's when it's gonna go off.
So atop this undead dragon, this herald wipes at his face, watches his entire body pulsate with repugnant colors. He looks down at you, all with undisguised fury, and says, in the name of Euse, Potch will claim your bodies and burn them upon a pyre. And with a single woo, he takes to the air upon the back of this dragon. Sable doesn't even watch the dragon take flight because he has been punched in the stomach by a single name. Podge. And as he flies up into the air, suddenly something comes plummeting down out of the sky to replace him. Landing inches from Lord Grievering. He staggers back, almost lands with a clang on his armored ass. A huge demon of fire and lightning spreads bat-like wings. Its huge whip causing a clap that causes the entire front line to stagger back in fear. Lord Grievering turns to the right and to the left. Stop the boats! Stop the boats! And then turns to the five of you and says, we must hold the bridge, or destroy it, or Furiondi is lost. And he unsheathes his sword and surges towards this 20-foot tall specter of hellish fury. Unless anyone has something interesting, creative, fun they want to do, I would call this initiative.
And heroism goes off.
Reasonable.
He's already coalesced in front of us, right? How high up is the dragon?
Oh, the dragon is good and gone. He's continuing to spiral among what appear to be many different sorts of winged forms.
Dang it.
So as you roll your initiative, call out your numbers to me, and I will insert and track them.
First,
in keeping with my usual initiative rolls, 5.
Solid.
Anyone who's seen me on variant rolls knows this is what I do.
Five.
Fantastic. Lady Vi got a 5. Fantastic.
The emo has an 18.
Shiro
All right.
has a 25.
Timiro,
Shiro.
The emo has an 18.
Okay.
an 18. So that's how I should say it, though. That's what I was.
Yes, Didimo.
I'm just an old middle-aged dude from Kentucky, you know.
I know, and I'm
y'all
making
got
it
me
as
at
difficult as possible on you.
I make my pronunciation rolls at disadvantage. All right, somebody else call off your.
I'm at
Five minutes Maxi.
I love it.
All right,
Oh,
what is yours
dear.
again, Shiroi?
25.
Oh, nice.
Plus 6
That's
to
fantastic.
initiative.
Sable.
Mm-hmm.
What about you,
Strong
Sable?
5.
A
Strong 5.
strong 5. A well-intentioned 5, which is totally understandable given the blow that you have just taken. You can actually feel your bones vibrating, your stomach churning. Ilivara, a 4 for which she has no excuse. Let's put that in descending
plus
order.
3, so 7. So a total of 7. Strong 7.
Oh, okay.
Strong
Strong
7.
There we go.
Strong 7.
All right.
Fantastic.
I was
All
more
right.
thinking about the bones I had to raise.
Yeah, I mean, that puts you
Shiroi.
nearly at the top.
All right.
Like for
Big rolls
us,
here.
that's pretty high.
Big rolls.
Right.
All right. Shiroi actually has a little dexterity going. So what do you do as suddenly to the right and to the left, all the troops surge forward, particularly the archers, across the river, sort of vomiting forth from this teeming crowd of malevolency comes these long black boats that are being slipped into the water. And across the bridge, behind, let me get, that guy. Across the bridge, which is now clear, start to erupt troops, orc, goblin, and demon. What do you do as
All
this
right.
demon stands before Grievering?
All right. With the free action, or at least like talking, I'm assuming is a free one. I say, keep their back forces distracted. I'm going for the giant in front of the king, and I'll like to move to. I'm trying to move right behind him, or at least get, yeah, just get behind whatever's in front of the commander in front of us, and I'd like to use my chain sickle to entangle the giant's feet. So,
Gotcha. Chain sickle to Let me look. He's huge. I will let you do that at disadvantage, just because of the sheer mass of the creature.
Right. So that is 20 plus 9 with disadvantage. So I will roll that.
Roll it.
And
drum roll, please. There it is.
All right.
Whoa! Wow!
That ain't bad.
That's crazy. That's not bad.
All right.
Nice.
So I assume that also does damage as well. I'm going to let you know that as you do that, there is the very comfortable, familiar, almost stimulating as the chains spool around his tree trunk-like legs, and you actually grasp the end of it, give it a twist. You have his legs.
Right. So he's now considered grappled, but I don't believe it does damage according to what Entangled does.
Okay.
But
Great.
yeah.
No, Entangled is just a utility.
So
But a very cool
you
one.
have put a leash on a massive demon. I wonder what the consequences of that might be for you. Interesting. We shall see. So is that's your full action, or that's one of your 2 attacks on your action, correct?
That's one
Or
of the
do
2
you just get
attacks on
one?
my action.
Okay.
Yeah, with my other attack action, I would like to use my sickle to try to strike his legs and make him, at least like his ankles, since I'm assuming I have a little bit of chain left, so I'm going to try to make him like stumble backwards a little bit so he falls. Like,
All right.
towards
So
me.
you're going to try to pull him off his feet. I'm going to improv a call on that, and we're going to roll it as strength versus strength.
Oof.
Oh, good.
That's yeah, I got -1 to that. So let's see how that doesn't
I'm
count
going to add
as
6
athletic?
to this roll. Oh, it's only a 20.
Oh,
Only a
Oh.
20.
Okay,
Okay.
let's see how this goes.
Oh, no, 8. Add 8 to that roll, so 22.
oh.
Oh, well.
Yeah, sorry.
In that case.
All right. So if it's just straight strength, let's see if I beat it.
No.
All right.
Good.
So, what the rest of you see a pretty impressive display. None of you have seen one another fight before, and you see this sable white cat explode from the front lines, whip around behind this demon, and with a beautifully practiced gesture, whip the chain around, pull it tight, and then go. At which point, nothing happens.
Right. But I still got a bonus action, so I'm gonna pump a key point into Flurry of Blows.
Oh, I love monks.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I'm just gonna try to like do the same thing, but more just I sort of abandon the chain sickle, and I'm just trying to like hit his Achilles' heels and just try to like make him fall back in pain. So let's see. That's an 2 unarmed strikes. So that's.
So you're gonna give karate chops at this point.
Yeah.
Bringing your kung fu mojo to bear on the Achilles tendon of a spawn for the abyss.
Right. So.
Roll it!
Right. So that's rolling to hit plus 9.
Stunning strike. Don't speak of stunning strike there in chat. We'll have none of it.
Not just yet. So that's 23 to hit for the first attack.
That will hit.
All right, and that is a 1d6 plus 5. So let's put that in there. And first hit does 8 damage. And now we'll roll in another attack. I'm just gonna try to knock him down. Let's see what that does. 26. We'll roll. That hits.
That does hit.
All right.
You're getting good hits, dude.
All right.
Whether it's
And-
making a difference or not.
I was gonna say for all the good it'll do.
All right. It's 16 damage total for that. And if he does fall back, I'd like to just try to move towards. Yeah, I'm assuming I have more. Yeah, than enough reach to like get right next to the king. So in case he does stumble back, I'm not in the fall.
Gotcha. So, tugging futilely upon this chain, you eventually decide to just go, ha A couple of powerful blows against his Achilles tendon. The creature looks back. Its maw opens, and you see nothing but flame inside its mouth. But then it looks back away, and you have this vivid memory of being a cub in your village and running up against your dad and punching his leg, and him laughing at you and picking you up and throwing you lovingly into the air. It's kind of like that, except malevolence. Next, Lord Grievering. He's pulled his sword. Now it pulses with a radiant glow, and he will make 2 blows against this creature. One of them hits. The first one traces a glowing line down his massive red thigh, quaking with muscle. So that's going to be 2d8 plus 4 for... I'm still learning my Fantasy Grounds dice. 2d8, there we go, plus 4. So that's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 plus radiance. 3d8 radiant damage. Nice.
Okay, fun.
So the wound across his thigh bubbles and steams as if the holy blade is an affront to this creature's very nature. Terimo? Is that the pronunciation?
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
Or I could say it the way we say things down here, Terimo.
Terimo. Oh, I grew up in East Tennessee. I know just how you say it down there.
That's just a hop, skip, and a jump from here.
It is just down the road, down the path. Anyway, you mentioned a group of refugees that were all tied together when you were describing the scene much earlier. What happened to them?
They were smashed when
that's right,
his
the
dragon landed upon them.
Well, I was gonna go.
He made prisoner jelly upon them,
right,
which still shimmers on the bridge, dripping down into the dark water.
Right. Well, then I won't be saving them. So, Tirimo's going to sort of walk over to the other side of, staying back, but to the other side from where Shiroi went, and pull out a little metal rod and point it at the great big terrifying demon, but aim it in such a way that I think you said there were some orcs and goblins crossing the bridge as well. So hopefully he'll be able to get a decent line on them, and he will speak his arcane words and cast a lightning bolt down the bridge to incinerate as many of the little ones as possible.
Will this creature also be within the line of your lightning bolt?
Yes.
Through him as well.
The hope is to blast it through him, but really I want to sort of make as big of an impression on the creatures that are crossing the bridge and those yet to cross as possible.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh? What uh-oh? Why uh-oh?
Everything just froze up for me for just a second. Are you hearing me?
I can hear you, yes.
I can hear you.
Okay, good.
And I'll hear you.
Fantastic. Oh, like I look on the Twitch and I've frozen with my tongue sticking out a little bit.
Oh, yes, I see that. That's lovely. Oh, you're back now.
Fantastic. So you brace yourself. A concussive electrical blast.
And he definitely looks a little uncomfortable with this spell. Like, the concussive blast definitely jolts him back, as if he's not super used to casting things like this.
All right.
But he keeps his feet. He's not that much.
All right. So I'm going to do a dex save for the big guy. And I'm going to say the rest of them don't get one. So that is a 5 plus 7. He doesn't bother to get out of the way of your lightning bolt.
Yeah.
He sees you casting. His eyes look up, and he catches it just above the groin.
Oof. Nice. So
let's roll. We will take the full damage.
All right. Do you want me to go ahead and roll that, or did you want to roll for the
You don't want electrical gonads. That's oof.
Yeah, oof.
I don't care where you're from. That's not good.
Oof. Do you want me to roll the damage, or do you want to roll for the folks on the bridge?
I'm going to deal with that as swarm, and we're just not going to give them a save.
Okay, great. So here is the damage roll. Ain't too bad.
Nice. 33. So, as it blasts into him just below his belly button, he looks up, and electricity courses up his red flesh. It tends to course out towards the whip in his hand, which seems to already be pulsing with electrical energy.
Yeah, well.
It's difficult to say just how much that bothered him.
Sure.
I'm not exactly sure where he is in the turn order, so I'm going to put him at the end.
Okay, great. Love that.
There we go.
Nice.
All right, so that is 33 points of damage, plus whatever resistances you may or may not have. We'll see about that.
Right.
All right.
And I will sort of turn to the soldiers behind me and say, go around and secure the bridge.
All right. They all, like, as you look at them, the soldiers seem to be frozen in fear. The archers are doing their best to take out the boats that are being set into the water across. But the soldiers are sort of quivering, and at your command, they rush forward and stand at the base of the bridge, waiting for the orcs and goblins to come. You have seen that many of them have been completely exploded. They pop. They just pop almost like popcorn in a hot fire, except with entrails and bones and such. Several of them dove off into the water, but at this point, you have cleared the bridge. More are surging from the other side.
Hold the bridge.
That's it for Terimo. I'm gonna get this.
You got it.
Iliavara or just Ilavara? Iliavara.
You can call me Illy. Illy
Illy.
looks at what's going on.
Illy just got points from the DM on that one.
Life easier
Oh, good.
pronunciation.
You can call him T. He just
Illy
won't like
takes
it.
her hand crossbow off of the side and pulls it back and does a little bit of a skip and begins dancing and twirls as she's loading her bow and begins to chant, "If you steal the land of a drowish girl, then you shall know this curse. This demon's warm fire blood will run here on this damned green earth." And she, as she's dancing, spinning her hair around, comes in and pops off, trying to focus before she does
You
so.
totally got a crit, given that lead up. A 14.
14. If that doesn't hit, I'm going to use a point of lucky because I'm not going down for a shot not making a hit.
It does not hit. I'm going to say that you need a 19.
That's not going to hit
Point
either.
of luck.
Oh,
So your bolt whistles satisfyingly through the air, and a bat of his wings causes the projectile to go barely off course, sailing right past his face. You were aiming right between his eyes. Anything else from Ellie?
Next time. And she begins reloading.
All right, what about Lady Vi?
Okay, Lady Vi's going to take one look at the tabaxi right up on this thing, and I'm going to throw out a guiding bolt.
Nice.
all right.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I do throw out a guiding bolt there.
I think you did, in fact,
I think I
throw out a
did.
guiding bolt.
You did.
So the next attack against this guy now has advantage. And I need to roll some damage. 46.
Yes.
And 12 points of damage.
Nice.
And I
that's
believe that
radiant,
is
correct?
radiant damage.
Nice.
Yes.
So this
That is
bolt
radiant damage.
of, we won't say holy, but at least divine energy blasts from you, arcs perfectly through the air, and catches this creature right between his gigantic red overhanging pectoral muscles. Plunges into him and causes a glowing surge in the center of his chest. He bats at it with one of his hands, clearly despising it. Anything else?
That's what
from
you
Lady?
get for taking my homeland. She is satisfied.
All right.
Quiet smile of
Then
satisfaction.
Sable. As the war is going on around you, how are you processing the receipt of a name?
Not well. It's not going well. I reach forward, and there is a great sword buried sort of half down into the ground, like the blade half buried, and he reaches down, draws this claymore up, and it's sort of, just hearing that name, there's almost tears that come forth, and his eyes begin to sort of mist over and turn black, and for my action, I'd like to stride up close to the demon in front of us, and I'd like to use my necrotic shroud. It causes creatures within 10 feet of me to make a charisma saving throw, or become frightened from me until my next turn. However, delightfully, the party has heroism on them, which is really helpful right now.
Really helpful.
The party is immune to fear at the moment.
All right.
Nice.
Very nice.
And basically my skin just turns black and huge grizzled wings sprout from my back, and around me shadows seem to coalesce, and I'm going to whisper something in Celestial, and I'd like to use my bonus action to cast a spell, if that's okay. The Necrotic Shroud is an ability of the Aasimar. So,
well, first I need to make my save there for your
Indeed.
shroud. See how I'm going to react. It is a charisma save, correct?
it is indeed.
A 10 plus 6 is a 16.
It's a
What is
fail!
your DC?
DC 17!
Oh!
Nice.
And I step up and I say, what was the pronunciation of the word? The name was
Patch.
Patch. I step up with the sword over one shoulder and sort of coat billowing, look up, and as sort of like black tears seem to streak down my face, I am going to say, bring me Patch. And I'm going to say in Celestial a curse, and I'm going to drop a hex on him, and I'll add my Hexblade's curse to that as well, because
Okay.
I'll kill this thing right here, right now.
All right.
He's pretty wimpy. He's going to go down soon. Just kidding.
All
I
right.
think he's kidding.
I hope he's
that's-
not.
So you're now going to take your blade and smite this creature?
I can't. I've used my action to activate my Necrotic Shroud, and I've used my bonus
Gotcha.
action to hex and drop a load of curse on this, and that's my turn.
All right.
All right.
I do not play with warlocks. That's not a matter of choice. It's just happened that way. What do I need to know about that hex?
So, totally a paladin, not a warlock. No idea what you're talking about. The curse, until the spell ends, I deal an extra 1d6 necrotic damage to the target when I hit. And I also choose one ability. When you cast a spell, the target has disadvantage on ability checks made with the chosen ability. I'll choose.
What do you choose?
I'll choose strength.
I
So
think that is a
I
wise,
need
prudent
that.
decision. A prudent decision. So he is frightened, which means he cannot approach you any further. But he draws his blade back. His eyes are on you, and it's difficult to say with such a contorted, wicked face, but is there perhaps a glimmer of fear or surprise there? Difficult to say. He chooses not to strike at you. He instead brings his massive flaming sword down on Lord Grievering, who lifts his shield in anticipation of the blow. That is, it's only a 5, but it is a plus 14. A 19.
Plus what now?
What? 14.
Excellent.
Okay.
So Lord
We should
Grievering
leave.
actually takes the entire brunt of the blow against his shield. Fudging! Fire splays out through the air in a huge explosion. He buckles to his armored knees with an audible clank, and you hear him groan in effort. But in a single fluid motion, without pause, he brings his whip around, swinging it at the tabaxi.
Oh.
All right.
That annoying
You have 5
tabaxi
temporary hit points.
That's nice. That's important. So, does a 25 hit you?
Yes.
That was tongue in cheek.
Oh boy. All right.
All right, where is that D6? All right, 2.
So
This
you're
is
one of
plus
those
8.
DMs.
16 points of slashing damage as the whip swipes down your flesh. It parts your fur and reveals the skin beneath, ghostly white as a red line appears in it, already oozing blood. But that's not the worst. Electrical energy courses up and down the whip. Your teeth immediately begin chattering. Let's do 3 of these bad boys. What's it going to be? 12 points of lightning damage as you spasm involuntarily as the electricity courses through you.
All right. That's a third of my
And at this
health.
point, at this point, the battle around you is raging. The masses of troops on the other side of the river have not forded it yet. Troops are trying to spill across the bridge, but those demons and other creatures who can take to the air have crossed the river, are spiraling over your troops. You see them swooping down, biting, slashing, picking up soldiers and sending them spinning into the air where they crash back down against their own allies, almost like a bludgeoning weapon. And you hear the unmistakable "ka, ka," and the whistle of an incoming projectile. They have trebuchets and ballistae on the other side. Meteors of flame and pitch and stone come crashing down into the midst of your army, and then pow! What was that? Was a lightning bolt coursing through your group. They have casters as well. With all of this going on, I take a roll every round on what I call the random battle events table. Because you're not in a fight in isolation. Everything is going on around you. Ladies first. Tia, would you roll a d20 for me?
I would love to, my benevolent DM. That is an 18.
An 18.
Have I told you how
All
great you
right.
were today?
Oh, wow. Okay. Let's do... What is that going to be?
You know what? Screw
All
it.
right.
Bring it on, Shane. Bring it on.
There
So
it is.
roll a d100.
Less ready.
Let's
There's a total of 22. Lucky number 22.
Oh, wow, fantastic. Well, the opposite side is not the only side that has casters. Noble clerics, both refugees from the Shield Lands and knights, paladins from the noble nation of Furiondi, are casting spells of healing towards the front lines, towards those who are falling from the sky, tossed by demons of various sorts. All of you may take... Okay, come on. I'm still learning Fantasy Grounds.
You got
Take
this.
27 points of radiant healing damage coursing through your body. Only one person needs it, I believe. Is that correct?
I mean,
I
and the
would
captain,
love it.
very importantly.
And the captain.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
All right.
So,
Thank you.
that is the first round of combats. Absolute bedlam. The enemy advancing through the air, trying to ford the bridge. Grievering, still on his knee, still with his shield up over his head, turns back to you and says, "Casters, can you break this bridge?" And with that, I must ask, how did we get into this situation? How did...
That's such a good
How
question.
did a drow,
Yeah.
a tiefling, a tabaxi, an elf, and an Aasimar find themselves toe-to-toe with the invading armies of Use the Evil, the Lord of Pain? Well, that's a complicated story. To know the beginning of it, we must go back in time. 6 months. Sable. At that time, you're a member of a mercenary company. And tell us a bit about that company.
The company is called the Red Hands, and they are relatively well thought of. They are, decent kind of fellows. They take legitimate contracts, and they've got a pretty decent reputation. But they're not the biggest. Certainly bigger than what Sable was originally comes from, and he holds probably a minor rank, something akin to a sergeant. But he's also affiliated as. He is part of an order of his divine god, which is Istus, and he's simultaneously in training as a paladin and also still working as a sergeant, probably waiting to be pulled over to where things are. We've probably heard rumors, whispers of all of this kicking off, how messed up things are. We're not the most local of forces, I imagine. And I imagine, against Use, we're kind of being drawn in. They're dragging in people from the outreaches of the kingdom. So probably on the march, I would say. I don't know.
So the Red Hand, despite being a mercenary company, is rife with paladins. Not anybody can hire the Red Hand. Only noble causes will garner their aid. And what better noble cause than to come to the aid of the Shield Lands, led by Lord Holmer, the Knight Protector and head of the Knights of the Holy Shielding. You haven't met Lord Holmer, but his emissaries have hired the Red Hand. To the north of the Shield Lands lies a wicked land, a disciplined, ordered land, but evil to the core nonetheless. It's called the Horned Society, and the Horned Society and the Shield Lands have long been enemies. And yes, there have been murmurs of war, reverberations of evil in the north, and so Lord Homer, with his knights already severely taxed, has sent the Red Hand to wipe out a few of the border villages right on the outskirts of the Horned Society. The thought is perhaps that in disguise in those villages, troops might be able to advance and get further into the Shield Lands before they are noticed. So you raise them. I mean, they're from the Horned Society. They're all evil, men, women, and children. Even paladins don't mind wiping them out. Half of them are foul tieflings. Many of them are hobgoblin families and tribes. All of them vile. And so, you have been wiping them out. But one day, the last day of your sortie, on the outskirts of a village that is now burning, the smell of burning flesh and cracking bone and marrow fills your nostrils, and then you see a small hut, perhaps a quarter mile away, up on a hill. Smoke rises from it, but not the smoke of having been raised by troops, but a fireplace sends up a thin tendril of smoke into the gunmetal gray sky. You alone march forward to the door. Your nearest allies are probably 300 feet behind you and down the hill. But what could be hiding in this ramshackle building? Standing outside the door, what do you do?
Sable takes his claymore from his back and puts it blade down against the ground and will peer sort of to and from, seeing if he can see. I presume it's not if it's sort of a hut, it's nothing particularly fancy. I'll see if there's any cracks in the door or in the windows that I can make out any sign of life inside.
About halfway around the building, it seems to be made of thatch covering a mud structure. The door, you'd have to lay down on the ground and you could peer through the inch between the ground and the door, but you did see on your approach a window. It appears to be shutters open.
I will head round to the window, sort of not dragging my sword behind me, but holding it behind me. So the first thing that anyone inside would see wouldn't be
in
me.
Decapitation pose.
Yes, exactly. And
are you going to try intentionally to be stealthful?
We've been burning the village.
Yeah, good point.
I come round and I just peer inside, not calling out, not making my presence obvious, but I'm not sneaking.
So you peer around, and even before you get to the window, you hear some sort of infernal ritual curse chant coming from inside.
And I rest my sword over my shoulder, don't even go to the window. I walk back to the door and I brace myself to put my boot straight through it.
So you're just gonna hit it?
Oh yeah, I'm kicking the door down.
Okay.
Nice.
You almost stumble forward because the force of your kick is so far in excess of the strength of the door. It blows off its hinges and lands with a whack on the dirt, sending up little plumes of dust around it. Whipping around from the back of the room to face you is a skeleton? No, that there is flesh covering this creature, but it's stark naked. Its flesh is bone white, and through its paper-thin skin, you can count every bone. Between its naked legs hang shriveled male genitalia that could not have been in use in countless ages. He raises two hands of blackened claws, and he grimaces at you with black, withered teeth, and says, "You have come, I knew that you would," and throws himself down on the ground, on all fours in front of you. "Dispatch me quickly."
Oh.
I'd like to take a look around the room before, not wanting to walk in and step on anything, any traps, any... he's just, as he gives up, I'm like, I'm not just gonna walk over and take this as a freebie, not a chance. What can I see?
As you look around the room, taking it in, your eyes slowly adjusting to the darkness, to the right and to the left, you see endless shelves. The room is small, but shelves stacked with strange curios, jars with unidentifiable viscous substances, strange severed heads and dried body parts, bones and fingers, withered parchments, dusty parchments. There's a small table in the center of the room that seems to be more laboratory than kitchen. And just behind that, something that looks like two hands splayed out, made of bone. This decoration is about 8 feet tall, with the wrist bones sitting on the floor, bony fingers splayed out almost to the ceiling. And across this are bits of, across the palms of these bony hands are eyeballs, bits of dried blood, maybe feces. It's as if entrails, guts, all manner of gross things were thrown against it. And beneath the offal staining the center, about a dozen candles glimmer in various colors. Obviously some sort of shrine or altar.
I am going to just reach up to my neck with my free hand as I'm balancing the weight of the blade across my pauldron, and I will just reach for a simple black scarf and pull it up to cover my nose and mouth at just the putrid smell that wafts out of this place, and I will step in and get within arm's reach and ready my sword to bring it down on him and just see if he reacts in any way. I'm very much ready to swing for him.
Well, the door that you blew in, as he threw himself down, his hands now are on the top of the door, lying on the floor. To get within sword's range, you take a step and stand on the end of the door. And as he feels the door move, you hear... He does not look up.
I look down at him and I say, "You have been judged and you have been found wanting." And I pull the sword up and blade down. I'm just going to drive it down through his, just below his neck, with all my strength, probably staking him to the ground, I hope.
Yeah, we're not going to roll to hit and damage on this. You can hit a stationary, prostrate creature right at the top of his spine, right where it meets the neck, and you immediately flatten him. He pins down against the door. You feel the bite of the wood in the top of your blade, and he immediately splays out arms and legs, feet and hands, hammering a rictus of death against the dusty ground. And then he lies still.
I will take the hilt of the blade and put my boot on the back of his skull, and as I pull up, I imagine crunch down at the same time, relinquishing my blade, but also staring at this altar thing in front of me with some curiosity, understanding that it's probably going to be another job of needing to burn everything.
As you pull your blade free, placing your foot on his head, you sense the frailty of this now dead creature. Whatever he once was, he was not strong, as your boot causes the back of his skull to crunch in like a fragile bird's egg. A grayish substance oozes out from his filthy ears. But you pay it no mind as you approach this altar. You definitely feel a pull towards it. You don't feel an overwhelming sense of evil. There's something oddly compelling about it.
I will sheath my blade and I walk over, lighting a torch, not to... perfectly capable of seeing in the dark, but realizing that I'm probably going to have to torch the inside of this this hut and burn it to the ground. But at the same time, there's that moment of consciously in the back of his mind, Sable's aware that he's stalling. He's taking his time to pull out the torch. Takes him a few attempts to strike it lit, and he just stares at it, almost seemingly a little distracted, as he draws close to it.
The sense of a breath almost at the back of your neck. A fragrant breath. Smells of honeysuckle. I've been waiting for you, my champion. The voice seems to come from behind you.
I turn with one hand, ready to draw and swing my blade, but am not going to actually go through the motion just yet. Do I recognize the voice at all?
No, not familiar at all, but obviously female.
I turn and look in its direction, see if I can spot it, whatever it is.
You turn, and about 3 feet behind you, off to your right, there is a woman. She stands a little over 5 feet tall and has long, flat golden hair, no curl whatsoever, hangs full yet straight. Her face is very delicate. She seems quite fragile, almost childlike. If you had to guess her age, 14, maybe 15? She's quite beautiful. She's dressed in a long gossamer gown which goes all the way to her toes. And through her body you can see the shelves behind. She's translucent and shimmers somewhat, picking up the light, the light that comes in from the door, and the flicker of the fire, somehow amplified in her ghostly form. You have freed me. I told him you would. I told him you would come. I could not be held forever. It simply wouldn't be fair. What is your name?
Takes a moment to decide whether or not he's going to engage in conversation, and he's pretty sure he's not. He's pretty sure he's got his job. He's here to, he's gonna swing. He's got it all planned out. He's gonna call for reinforcements, and then he hears his own voice, almost catches him off guard as he says, "They call me Sable. Sable Cross."
I trust you're not cross with me. I'm rather glad to see you. They once called me Wheelleg. Wheelleg Zagrat. But I preferred going by Tasha. And you, I have seen you in my dreams when I was a girl. How long ago? I can't remember. I died at the hands of some infernal creature, horns and red flesh. But I never really went away. I feel I've been here forever. And I'm angry. I'm so angry. My mother and my father died. My young brother was torn in half before my eyes, and they set me on fire. Flames begin to lick up from her shoulders. Her hair begins to shrivel against the fire. You smell the very distinctive aroma of burning flesh and burnt hair. The fire seems to swell in her eyes. But you have freed me. What can I do for you, Sable?
I look out the hole where the doorway was, and I know down there at the foot of this hill there is a village on fire, and I should be getting back. And I reach up and just tap my hand against a locket round my neck, and
who was she? What was her name?
Rosalind. My rose.
I can feel your pain. No. And you know not where to look for your revenge. My heart is broken for you. That's why you came. I need you, and you need me. She takes her gossamer garment and tears it so that it rips a deep line between her very small breasts, just exposing her sternum. I offer my heart to you, if you offer your service to me.
I drop the torch somewhere where it'll start lighting the hut. Just toss it to one side and draw my sword.
Yes,
And
right here. Place it here. She gestures to her sternum, right between her breasts. The tip of your sword right here, please.
can I make an insight check based on, because I'm going through the story she just told me, and like do I recognize the name at all?
No. I don't know. Wheelvleg Zagrat. You can do a history check if you'd like.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for a history check, please. Please and thank you.
All right.
It seems above board, but just on the off chance, I'm gonna.
Yeah, it kind of does.
11. You've definitely never heard the name. And yet, something about it kind of plucks at the back of your mind. It's almost like a puzzle that as soon as you hear it, you go, oh, wait, I've got it. But it doesn't come. And you wanted to do an insight check?
Yeah, I absolutely want an insight check. This raving loon, which I'm a little bit better at. That is an 11.
An 11. As far as you can tell, this waif-like woman is passionately earnest in her desire for you to place a blade against her heart.
Most importantly, on that insight, does she genuinely seem angry?
As far as you can tell, yes. You are aware that you're a bit thrown. There may have been more clear-headed moments in your life than this.
You know, I'm probably still standing on the guy I killed, like one boot still leaving a notable impression, and I imagine smoke starting to rise as I've started the fire in this hut. But I will step forward and I will rest the blade across my forearm so I can level it straight at her chest, but I won't plunge forward just yet, and I say, "You speak of me as if you know what I look for."
How could I not when our hearts are aligned? She reaches towards your blade, seems to become more corporeal than she was. You lose sight of shelves behind her as she takes an assertive step forward, piercing herself with your blade. She does not let go of it. Her face shakes off the pain. She locks eyes with you, grabs the blade. You can see blood coming from her hands, and she takes another step forward. Ooh. You can feel the point of your blade tremoring with a heartbeat. This was her blade, wasn't it?
Oh, I get angry. put my hand against the crossguard and I push forward with the other side of the crossguard against my own chest, and I'm going to drive it back so I've got her pinned against the wall with my weight leaning into it.
So as you do, she drops the blade and staggers backwards. You feel it pierce her spine and dig into the mud wall of the hut. She gasps and is pinned against the wall. She levels her gaze at you. Yes. A huge blinding light courses from her flesh. You have to stagger back, blinded for just a moment, and when you can finally blink and clear your eyes, she stands before you now, with the bloody blade in her hands, laid flat. Her heart wound seems to surge blood with every one of her heartbeats. I imbue this blade now with my power, with all of my hates, all of my hurts, and you may use it to salve your own wounds. What do you want most?
I want a name.
There are many. She withered. Oh, the babies too now. Another burst of white hot light from her. Her hair now is billowing in a cloud of angry gold. Yes, I'll give you a name, but I warn you, it will lead to another, and another, and another. Your wrath will never be satisfied. Death will play out before you, and you will walk on the bodies of your enemies. Find Patch. Her gown, her hair billows and swirls around you. You blink. Tang, tang! The sword she was holding falls to the ground with a clatter. And the lights and the woman are gone.
I reach down and pick up the sword, hesitating for a moment, hand trembling, and I'm going to, before this place burns, I'm going to take that altar apart with this sword, and I'm going to just start swinging, and at first it's just mindless snarls of anger, but slowly a single word bubbles to the surface. Patch. And I'm...
Tang. Yeah. Clang. Ding. With every blow, you sense something different about your blade. Blade has always been sentimental, because indeed it was hers, but now you sense the presence of this strange woman within it as well. That does not anger you, because with it you sense tremendous power. The altar shatters before you. Behind you the village burns, but you no longer hear. Also, 6 months ago, at that very moment, 150 miles further north, the dark, dread city of Molag burns. Above it, in the sky, wheel dragons and demons. The temple of Neril the Reaper God, which all of the Horn Society worships, is a conflagration, a finger of fire pointing to the sky. Atop a high parapet, on the outskirts of the city, Lady Vibrance stands at her mother's side, watching the city fall. Her mother, Reset, clutching her own chest, panting in fear. Well, the Reaper God has fallen. I guess this cloud has a silver lining. She
There's always
fails
one.
to laugh. What of your temple, my daughter?
Our temple here has fallen, but we are eternal. We are everywhere. And we will survive, just as you and I will survive.
Is that true?
Our happiness is tied not to this place, and I cannot help but see this as an opportunity.
She turns to you with shock and horror. An opportunity. The hierarchs must have fallen by now.
Yes,
Yous will have taken
Undoubtedly.
the city. What opportunity
Yes.
lies before us?
the opportunity to leave. Look around you. This is... Things have been good for us. I do not deny that. The hierarchs have been good to us, but their hold was tenuous at best. This chaos was a long time coming. We take our
That's
things. We go south. We rebuild. And we bring order to our lands. We've taken these lands once before, we will take them again.
South.
They belong to
we
us.
go south.
South.
We go to the
South.
We go to the Shield Lands. We go to Furion.
We go to the people. Yes, we go to
She
the people
reaches
who
up
I
and
have cut down
caresses
with my
the
own
long-
blade.
She feels the long curving horns atop her head. They will kill us just for this.
They will not. They will want to, but they will not because they are good. They will feel the hatred burn in their hearts. They will look at us with loathing, but they will not. They will take us in.
Fate.
Maybe.
Foolish faith. Foolish. Your father will have a plan, though. Go
I'm sure he
south.
will.
She leans quickly over the parapet, looks down at the streets where people are running to and fro, and you see now orcs running through the street. The foul agents of chaos. Orcs were never welcome in Molag before. The hobgoblins,
No.
though somewhat related, highly disciplined, organized, structured, but orcs are just madness in rotting flesh. You see them pull your neighbors out of their house and begin to defile them in the streets below.
Whatever plan he has, now would be the time.
You hear a clatter of wheels. The orcs look up just for a beat before two black steeds with flaming hooves mow them down, and the unfortunately not yet lifeless forms of your neighbors. They pull behind them a black carriage which slides and skids and slams into your neighbor's house before pulling into the alcoved opening into your central courtyard. Your mother goes, "Quick, it must be him!" And she runs back to the other side of the parapet, which looks down into your central courtyard. The door on the carriage pops open, and a black-skinned, horned creature, fat and huge, falls out against the ground, a spray of black blood across the cobblestones of the courtyard. Your mother goes, "No!"
Yeah.
And runs.
I'm going to follow her.
Spiraling
Going to
down the
take her
staircase.
by the arm as well and make sure that all other plans are off. We go now.
She's not hearing you. Her lack of hearing you is so profound and complete, you wonder if you're speaking. All she's doing is pulling on you like an eager dog on a leash, trying to get to the prostrate body of her husband, finally wrenching her arm free and landing on her hands and knees, leaving her own bloody scrape on the cobblestones, bending over him, pulling his huge mass over. And as he does, you see both arms of his, the big black clawed hands wrapped around his abdomen, and you see twisting coils and tendrils of intestines spilling out between his fingers. He can't keep it all in as he rolls over with, "Ah!" He reaches up towards his wife. Risette. He looks at you as you come to a stop, looking down at him. "Why, my dear, why?" He is gravely wounded. And your mother looks up at you. Well?
Father, we must go south.
He's going nowhere. Make him well. I know you can do it.
We are going south and he cannot come.
What do you mean?
And I'm going to
Of course
look down
he's
at
coming.
the obviously non-human form of my father. If I do this, and I want to do this, believe me, I want to do this, he cannot come with us.
I don't understand you, you ungrateful. She makes to slap you. Will you let her?
Yes.
Her little hand cracks across your face like a whip, her little talons leaving 4 angry traces down your cheek. And then she spits at your feet.
I'm going to heal him.
We will say
Which I was
that...
going to do anyway.
What will you do to heal him?
Ooh, well, at this point, I'm not going to touch him, so it will be a healing word.
You tell me what that looks like for you.
For Lady Vi, that looks like she barely moves. She looks down at his form, back at her mother, back to him, and simply holds out her right palm, upon which is branded a skull within what looks like a ball of fire. It's a fairly old brand, so it's a bit difficult to make out, but that's what it looks like. And she whispers quietly under her breath, and a almost flame-like burst of energy flares around the symbol for a moment, and his wounds begin to close.
When you feel the divine energy leave you, your father goes, "No!" And underneath his gripping hand, you see a very paper-thin membrane coalesce over his entrails. He's not completely healed, but he does seem to be stitched together tenuously, perilously, although you can still see the workings of his organs churning just beneath the surface. He gasps again and looks at your mother. "Vi is right. I cannot go. The only hope of you being received would be gone if they look upon me. At least you have some semblance of humanity in your features. I do not. And he doesn't. His skin is black, his features are twisted and hog-like. And a huge, not a thin, wispy tail, but a fat, almost alligator tail sprouts from his backside. It's obviously true. And your mother just clasps her hands over her face. No, 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 no. Your father ignores her. Vi, in the carriage, in the back. Don't touch it. Be careful with it.
After hearing what he says, I am going to cast Healing Word again, but at a much higher level, at 4th level. So, knowing that he's on my side,
he sits up, still within pain. Thank you, daughter.
That's gonna hurt for a while.
Please, in the back of the carriage, get the bundle, the wrappings. Don't completely unwrap it, but bring it out.
Yep, I go in and hurriedly grab it, casting a stern look at my mother on the way past. For reference, Lady Vi is about 46, 47 years old. Her mother, much older, so this is a little old woman, little old tiefling woman. Cast her a stern look before retrieving the bundle.
Your father, by comparison, looks timeless. It would be impossible to guess how old he is. As you open it, you see what appears to be a thin tapestry coiled and wrapped and then tied with leather lashings. It's about the size, your character wouldn't know this, but you would know it's about the size of a basketball. And as you pick it up, some sort of spherical object, and it's heavy.
Ooh. Father, what? Do I feel anything arcane?
Let's have an Arcana check, shall we?
Okay. Okay, let me just pull up my stats. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Oh. I took some different proficiencies.
Unsurprising.
Spoiler, I'm not super good at this. Although.
Nice. Ooh. As you heft its weight, you pause for just a moment, take in a breath, and try to send something within you out towards this to sense any arcane energies. And you draw back from that with a shock. Yes, there is arcane energy now, of a magnitude and of a malevolence that you have not yet been this close to. Whatever is in here is frightening.
Father, I don't know what this is, but...
Listen to me, both of you. They're coming. He wipes a foaming gray sweat from his forehead. Listen. There's no end of them. They're vomiting into the city. They're wiping out everyone. All the houses are falling. The only reason we still stand is because we are lucky enough to be far from the city center, a minor house. As much as I have hated that, it has saved both of you today. The hierarchs have fallen. All 13 are gone or dead, but serving in the temple of the hierarchs, I took that. The herald of the hierarchs. You know exactly what that is.
I do.
It is a black orb used for scrying. Except not only can you see through it, but you can reach through it. Some things can be pulled in. Things can be inserted into where you are seeing. Attacks sometimes. It has been the primary tool of the hierarch's treachery. Now it is yours, and with it you buy our freedom. Well, Our family's freedom. Ugh. Take
I want this
to
not.
Belvoir.
I will, but I want this not. The destruction, the chaos that this could rain down on any civilization is...
That is why you must give it to Belvoir. If they are as noble as they say, perhaps he will use it to defeat Use.
Nobility matters not either.
Care not. I care not. It will buy you safety, child.
We will return. We will return one day and take back our lands, and we will be a noble house no longer. Not a lesser one, but a major one. There is one more thing I can do for you, Father.
Your mother is silently weeping.
I can send you home. I will come and get you when we're back.
Up at you.
I can send you home.
Your mother throws her hand down. No, 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 no.
I will get him back.
Coming back from that.
I will find him. When I take back our lands, when I restore our house, I will find him. When I restore order to our lands that we've won once before and will win again, I will find him.
A deafening shriek echoes through the streets just outside the open gate to your inner courtyard.
Send him back or he dies.
Do it, child. Do it. Your mother does not respond.
I am going to cast banishment on him.
He looks up at you for just one moment. His black hand reaches over and clutches your mother's. She whips towards you. Yes. He looks at both of you. His mother crawls toward your mother crawls towards him, leans in for a kiss. Goodbye. Completely anticlimactically, he's gone in a puff of smoke. Her kiss lands in empty air. And in a whisper,
he will survive.
As if from another plane, his voice says, "Run."
I lift her up and flee from the city.
6 months ago, in another part of the Flanness, at that same moment, a ramshackle cart trundles down a dirt road. On the opposite hill, across this valley, is a majestic, beautiful city with banners waving atop every parapet on its gloriously white marble walls. A single insignia seen over and over and over. A standard with a yellow crescent moon pointed downwards on a blue field. Above, 3 royal crowns and a red field. Nobody pays any attention to the ramshackle cart bumping down the road. There are a number of merchants and farmers, travelers going to and fro from the northern gate of the city of Kendal, the capital of the nation of Furiondi. Nobody pays any attention to the 2 small women in the front seat of the cart. The back of their cart is covered. Whatever's on the cart is unseen, but there's not anything particularly threatening about it. The 2 women almost seem like sisters. They're both relatively small, pale white skin, long, dark, curly hair. And one of them, who Tia you know as Vishara, turns to you. Like I said, no one will look at us twice. No one has yet, have they?
I'm a little bit remiss when someone doesn't look at me twice. It means that I'm having an off day, darling.
Your vanity will be the death of you. My only hope is that I'm there to see it happen.
Wouldn't that be ever so fortunate? The only time that you will see that happen is if you are watching from down below.
No. And then what? When you die, you go to your god?
I'm never going to die. I'm simply going to live forever. Don't be a bitch.
Sorry. It's an unfortunate side effect of coming straight from hell. So tell me of this god of yours, my dear superstitious dark sister.
They're there when I need them to be, and when they're not, they abscond, as a good relationship should be. I take what I want, I get what I need, and then we part ways. What do you care of the gods anyways?
Oh, I care nothing for them. We have our master, and I couldn't be more pleased. And isn't it just like you to describe your relationship with the gods as almost a sexual bargain? Your charms are myriad.
Cobwebs going between your legs doesn't mean the rest of us can't have a little fun every now and then, especially with these forms that you've got going on.
Dear. My
I know.
dear.
Praise Loth, as they say below.
All the gods, my goodness. Only a drow fascination, please. If I could entertain you with the many stories of the abyssal creatures with which I have coupled, things that would seem to be biologically impossible, have filled many hours. Filled many things.
She grabs her wineskin and takes a long pull, and at that hands it to her. Well, do drink and tell.
Well, perhaps some other time. You're drawing near the gates, the northern gates of Kendal. She takes your wineskin, turns it up for just a minute. She quaffs, quaffs, and quaffs. And in that, she kind of chokes a little bit, and something about the illusion that masks her for just a moment shimmers, flickers. For a heartbeat, you see her bright red flesh, the two spiraling horns coming out from her forehead, and then it's gone. This illusory peasant woman having replaced the vision of the true Vishara that you know and can't decide whether you love or hate. Of course. Nothing but the cheapest swill for you, my dear. She hands you back the wineskin.
It's whatever works. Can't find anything good on the surface anyways. Everything's diluted by this atrocious sunlight.
Pull your hood down farther, honey. You might get sick. It wouldn't do to have you passing out.
I would turn my head and cough if you asked me.
Perhaps when your mission is completed, we can spend some time exploring one another's various personality traits.
I drape an arm over her shoulder and kind of rub the side of it and pat my fingers along it. Now you're talking my language. Now.
We're close enough that I can reveal our master's plan for you. Only a part of it. Listen, I do as the master bids. I, of course, would tell you more, but you're no master. So, Euse pours south even now, on both sides of Wystel Lake, on the west pouring down through the Vesvi Forest, on the east down through the Horn Society, like two great arms reaching across the lake to embrace Furiondi in his foul grip. And Master, as always, wishes to support him, or to seem to. But you know, Master, there are other agendas. And she, from her bosom, pulls out a scroll. It is bound with a thick cord of leather, but also impressed into the center is an insignia, the nation's insignia of Perrinland, which you know to be the home of your master. You, oh, one moment, and you jostle up to the front gates of Kendal. Two portly gatekeeper come waddling over. One of them scratches the sweat stain beneath his right teat and says, "Oi, well, what might you two fine ladies be having back there under your blankets?" And the other one goes, "Yeah, I'd like to have a peek beneath their blankets, so I would."
I smile and I look to my companion. I don't see any harm getting underneath the sheets.
Oh, are you good to go? Are you a goer? Oh, you wouldn't know a goer. Something seems to be really bothering his right teat. You wouldn't know a goer if it went all over you, top to bottom. Vishara smiles and looks to you. Looks to the city walls. There don't appear to be any troops on top. There are villagers coming and going, merchants. Yes, I would say it wouldn't hurt for them to look under our blankets. What do you think, my dear?
She hops down off the cart, looking over her shoulder, her eyes getting a little bit of red flare in them. She tilts her head. I'd like to insight my companion. Are we going to kill these guys and stuff them in the back of the cart, or are we just really actually being polite?
Are you actually going to go? Are you going? Yeah, do an insight.
My insight is a +6, so there's a grand total. That's a nat 20. First one of the campaign. Boom, shakalaka.
You do know from your brief time with Vishara that there are no cobwebs down there. However, she chooses whoever she would like to be with, and these two are not her style. You can also
show them the back of the cart.
Of malevolence in her eyes.
Oh, good. Yes. Excellent. Yes, come around right this way. Vishara will help you on the other side.
You know there are many cushions back there. Perhaps we should pull the cart off to the side. Oh, yes. We ought to, shouldn't we? She gives a little whip to the horse. It pulls just barely off to the side in an area obviously set up for inspections, appropriately enough. The smaller, skinnier of the ones was on your side. He sidles up to you and actually leans in to smell you. Oh, well, look at this. You smell just as fine as a flower, you do.
Oh, sir, your words, they do bequeath me. Why don't you go on and make yourself comfortable, I say, throwing up the sheet and moving my hair aside to pull up my crossbow, checking to make sure that it's on my back.
Vishara is suddenly beside, and she, in one quick movement, jumps up into the back of this thing, lays her back against some sort of a bushel, a bundle of cloths and rags, and lays there with her knees slightly spread. The big fat
I give
one.
her a look like, you fucking bitch, you beat me to it. You sultry minx.
The big fat one stops scratching beneath his sweaty teat. Both of them actually freeze for a moment. You get the distinct impression that nothing like this has ever happened before. And then, suddenly, they're clamoring in. They're trying to pull their way in. They're crawling on hands and knees towards her. She looks at you and winks.
Pop, reload, pop. And I use sneak attack on both of them.
We're not going to roll to hit or to damage. Both of them were presenting their backside to you in a rather generous manner. You decided to take the shortest distance between 2 points, and meeting no bone of resistance, plug both of them in the anus with your crossbow bolts. The bolt tears straight up through their organs, hitting no bones at all, and both of them fall like a sack of potatoes.
You almost touched one of them.
Well, I was afraid it was going to get to me before you could extinguish it. Quick! And she climbs over the bodies, whips the tarp down, and both of you look around. I've actually got a baby monitor in the background. Can you hear that?
It's the screaming
I'm so sorry.
It's just like, what is going on?
I'm so
Baby's
sorry.
crying death by anus.
No, it's
Oh.
okay. Yeah, somebody starts screaming
So-
when I shoot somebody in the anus. I don't ask questions.
So, Tia, if you would, let me give you a quick task that's going to cover me turning the monitor off. If you would, describe what happened in whatever detail you would like as you leveled your crossbow at the back door. I'll be right back.
As I watch my companion climb into the back of the cart, these two meaty and sweaty men clamoring, probably slightly jostling one out of the other's way, I take a moment to look at her and smile, and I know that she's given me a little bit of the go-ahead and the look. I take my time taking my crossbow out with the first bolt silently, pulling it back, just because I want her to feel a little bit of the tension for the questions that she had asked me about my god or goddess. And as they start reaching out their hands, and she gives me that little panicked look of, "You're not actually going to let this happen, are you?" I go, "All right." And that's when I pop through the first one and then quickly reload the other.
As both of you look around, it's clear nobody has seen. She causes these two donkeys to back up, then pulls the cart around and begins to trundle through the main gates of the city. On the other side of the gates, there are two more guards, but they pay you no mind, as slowly you are enveloped by the townsfolk of Kendal. And she said, "You know, I've never actually seen a crossbow bolt fired at precisely that target. It's quite devastating and terribly amusing."
I should teach you a few things about torture that we learned in the Underdark you would find particularly amusing. One of my favorite is this thing called bamboo, and you shove it under the fingernails and you let it grow on its own. It's absolutely delightful. The screams can be heard for miles.
Oh,
Plus, of course, you drop a ball of silence on them. It's the best.
Perhaps I underestimated you. I mean, I understand that I have the allegiance of Master. It was I who opened the prison. But perhaps I should not feel so jealous in my ambition. Perhaps a partner, a friend even, would be pleasant.
Well, two is better than one.
We shall see. If you return from this mission, this, unfortunately, is solo, she says as she pulls the cart into a quiet alley. She leans in, and from her bosom produces the scroll once more.
This time I reach and take it a little bit more, if she lets me. I have been dying for honest work, we'll say. She opens it. Besides, I need to make my mark in this world, the surface. Give me something that will make those tremble beneath my gaze.
As you read, the task before you is complicated, but the payoff, wicked and sadistic.
I would almost do this job for free.
I'm glad. I hope you succeed. Make your way to the presence of the king. Follow the instructions, and we'll see what happens.
I'll be seeing you soon. And I give her a kiss on the cheek. And do a little backflip off the cart. Start walking my way.
And as you hear her clatter off in the opposite direction atop the cart, she says, I'll be thinking of you tonight.
I hope. I'll be thinking of you all nights. And then I slap my ass where I kissed it and then wave after her.
As you emerge from the alley, you look right and left, and to the right, uphill. Your destination is unmistakable. The palace of King Belvor IV, ruler of Furiandi.
I continue walking, and then eventually I drop my disguise. I can't have disguise self on me forever. I'm just a little drow girl in this big old scary world.
And what happens next? Well, a more pertinent question for the moment is what happens at the same time? This time, 150 miles to the northwest, deep in the Vespi forest, in an elven enclave known as Amamoriel. Of course, the humans call it Flameflower. As, still having to remember everyone's names, as Shiroi approaches, you see clumps of the crimson flowers from which this elven enclave gains its names, growing in bunches and clusters all through the thick parts of the forest. It's amazing that it grows almost in the almost total darkness of this heavily shrouded area. And then you enter into a vast opening in the forest. And there is a memorial in a select number of trees, buildings, houses, strange sculptures. Basically a huge section of forest has been twined together into dwellings for the elves of Amamoriel. You have just returned from the shores of Wystil Lake, where you fought off a number of orcish incursions from the north, but then had to flee because there were no more incursions. As you cast your eyes north, there was a teeming horde of orcs like ants at a family picnic. You beat a hasty retreat, and now 2 weeks later, you are back home to report your findings. As you walk into the village, the townspeople look at you strangely. There's a small child, oddly a human child, who looks up at you and points, pulls on the hem of his mother's garment. Mama, it's a cat. And an elven shopkeeper who you've known for years and years laughs, a mellifluous laugh, and hands the small child a bread roll. He's one of us, little one. And just like you have every other time you've come into this village, there is that strange combination of the looks and the stares, but also wholehearted welcome. Anything that you do or say as you arrive home, walking through the shops at the outskirts of our memorial?
I'd say to the boy, I show my teeth a little bit and give him a nice little wink. Yeah, and I'll just keep passing through just like my courtesies to the people who are smiling, and I just ignore the people who give me the stares. I'm just heading over to wherever my destination is.
The little boy, his eyes pop open in fear, but he immediately starts to smile and laugh, sensing no genuine malice in your expression. It's obvious he would love to come and snuggle, but you obviously have business as you approach the monastery of the Crimson Flower, where you seek, as quickly as possible, your mentor, the head of your order, an old elf, an ancient elf called Oliet. You find him in the central grove of the monastery. His head is bowed against the head of a great white horse, his forehead against its elongated nose, and just above your master's head, the spiraling gold fang of the unicorn's horn rests. They appear to be in some sort of almost intimate communion with one another. Nothing you haven't seen before.
Alright, is there like a staple, or like is there like a bit of wood I can sort of knock to try to get his attention?
There's not. You're in a wide open courtyard.
Okay. I sort of just take a courteous bow and I just say, Master, I have to report of my findings from the last encounter I've faced.
There's no response from either the unicorn or your master, but after a long, long beat, your master's hand caresses the side of the face of this majestic creature. Their heads part. He smiles and nods reverently, and the unicorn turns and strides off, quickly hastening to a gallop. Your master turns to you, smiles a sad sort of smile, and reaches his hand towards you. Ah. Come. Come, Shiroi. Let us talk.
I proceed to follow him.
He moves with a slow grace as if underwater. It almost seems that his long golden hair that blows in the breeze somehow blows in slow motion. The tassels at the end of his gown slowly swaying back and forth. And he walks up to a great stump, almost 10 feet across, turns, sits, and pats the space next to him with a hand.
All right, and I'll sit next to him.
Tell me of your findings.
There were many orcs we faced down by the lake just up north, and it's far too many to handle them on my own, I'm afraid, but I've retreated, and I just wanted to report that there's a great deal of forces approaching at some point, and I would advise the other monks to be ready for some kind of assault in the future.
How great a foe is assembled?
Hundreds upon hundreds of orcish, vile things approach. I do not know how many more there might be, but it is a great number indeed.
It is as I feared. My friend was telling me of incursions in the far north of the Vestvi. It is a perilous place. I've also heard from the due east, where our allies at the tree send word of foul things, toxicity in the soil and the water. but we have other matters to discuss. Tell me of your village once again, my friend.
Right, it is, I hail from Mount Centaur, and my tribe hails from Kashane, and I ran away from my family when I was quite young, and haven't really seen them since, but they are on my mind quite often, and I wish I could go visit, but training has kept me quite busy.
But how far is your village from Kershane?
I'd say about a day's or a couple so's trip. Why do you ask?
I fear I have grim news for you. He raises a hand, closes his eyes and tilts his head, and then goes back to a seated position. And just a second afterwards, an elf rushes in. His face is battered and bruised. His garments are half burned. There's a wound in his shoulder that has obviously seen some care now, but still it's fresh, and little flowers of crimson are blossoming on the white cloth used to staunch his flowing blood. Come, Elohen. Apparently, Elohen staggers forward, looking at you as if knowing why he has been summoned. This is the friend I spoke to you about. This is Shiroi. Tell me what you have seen. From Perrinland, from the valley, up through the mountains surged orc forces, not seen ever in this part, not since the Witch Queen fell decades and decades ago. They came straight up the pass that we use for trade with the humans. These were not humans, and nor were they only orcs. Foul things. Black wings, leather, skins, claws, teeth, and the smell. They gave off noxious fumes. Their touch melted elves where they stood. They came surging up the pass like a tidal wave over a sea wall and wiped out everything.
Even Kashane?
All of Kershane. Not even a building stands. But I'm afraid they flowed higher into the mountains. They did not stop there. They moved with passion and purpose higher and higher.
Yeah, in reaction
I know what village lies a mountain above our own. As I was going down the pass towards the Vestvi, looking back on the flames of my village, I saw also flames lapping up the top of the mountain. I cannot tell you how great their number was. But do not hope. Do not hope.
Yeah, in reaction to this, he just sort of, just one moment, sorry.
Oh my goodness. See, we've had all the action. We've had a roommate. We've had a baby monitor.
But yeah, in reaction to that, he just sort of just paces back and forth, just like, you hear like his snarl starting to build up more like in anger, and he's just he just turns to him and say, were there any signs of my kins or survivors of any kind from Shirkane, or...
I and my wife, we fled. We were coming up the pass from the Vesvi, so we were on the far side. We hid long enough to discern that we could be of no help. And then we ran. We waited at the bottom of the pass for a day. None came down. But that night the fires still burned in the mountains. So we put the village to our backs and headed here.
All right, I turn to the monk and I just say, whoever is responsible for this, I know it goes against the teachings, but if my race is truly gone and the tribe is wiped out, I just take out the blade and just see my sword and just... I must have blood. Yeah, he's just tempered.
He turns to the other elf and says, "Thank you. You may go." And then he stands and takes one slow step to the spot of ground where you fidget and churn in your frantic anger. He reaches out and places a hand on your chest. Remember your center. Breathe. Breathe.
Sorry.
Remember the teachings. They are not gone, though they are beyond our reach. Mourn not for them. Yet, fight against the suffering. The suffering of my people and your people in Kershane and above is over. But the suffering of our people here and in the lands to the south has not yet begun. We will fight. Know you the legend of the Witch Queen?
I've only heard tales here and there, but even as a child, a mere cub, and under your teachings I have heard rumors of her vile, wicked hatred and her dastardly dark forces.
Yes, even now, our mothers tell their children stories of the Witch Queen, who will come and pluck naughty children off to torment. But the Witch Queen who ruled Perrinland nearly 50 years ago disappeared without a trace and has been gone, and peace has returned. Civility and order returned to Perrinland for half a century. But with the return of orcs and perhaps demons to Perrinlands, one must wonder. Either it is Euse who somehow has stretched his arm all the way to the west to Perrinland, or Igwilv herself has returned. There is no time to grieve, my friend. How are you? Are you ready to work?
He grips his sword out of his sheath and plants it down, and he says, I care not if it either ooze, Igvil, or any dastardly orcs. I will put my life on the line and avenge my people. And yours, our monks, our elves as well.
Then you must leave. I will begin to marshal a defense. But this is not something that we can do on our own. We need our human allies to the south. Fly fast. To Kendal. To Furiondi. You must find Tirimo. He is of our people. He resides from the tree. And he is an ambassador of our people to the king, Belvor. Find him. He will listen to you. Tell him that Oliet sends this message, and then tell him what has happened, and that the elves of the Vestvi stand ready to rise, even against the orders of their queen.
With that, I pull out the sword and I just say, for his sake, and yours, I hope he listens. I sheath it away and then I start just making my way to wherever he is. And I'll pump in some feline agility and dash and I'm booking it to the city, to wherever he is.
To wherever he is 150 miles to the south, atop one of the uppermost rooms in a palace towards which Ilivara now confidently strides in her true form. But deep within the king's chambers, surrounding a massive wooden table, in a richly ornamented room, 3 men stand. One of them is dressed in royal red robes. His crown, however, is laid aside, and the bald pate of his head shines in the sun. His prodigious belly hanging over a sword belt. And Tirimo has a moment where he wonders if there ever was a time when Belvor could have wielded that sword. It looks awfully big. 2 other men stand on opposite sides of the table. One of them is Coronast, a human advisor, a friend to the prince, Thrommel, a friend who was grieved when Thrommel disappeared. They were very close friends. And Coronast thought he would never again have such a friend. And then on the opposite side is Tubal, a wiry, angular man who paces back and forth, never still, always fidgeting. The king turns back from the open window and says, "Our emissaries have brought tidings that are mixed at best. To the north, Molag falls. The foul city is in flames. Normally, that would be cause for celebration, but it falls to the old one, Euse." And he spits a viscous loogie which spirals 3 times before splattering in a gray fan across the cobblestones. The herb which he prodigiously chews has tainted both his sputum and his teeth and tongue, even his lips, a dark gray. And now, if Use has taken the Horned Society, where might his ambitions fall next? And he sits heavily in his throne. Coronast, to your right, turns towards you, worry in his face. Tirimo, what kind of support can we expect from the elves?
It is difficult to say. You know that we do our best not to interfere in the machinations of man, particularly when it seems that the Old One is focusing his efforts far to the east of what might concern us. We have our own troubles on the northern edge of the Vesvi. Perhaps if we knew more, if we knew for sure where he would attack next, then perhaps I could speak with my... And he sort of hesitates and says, mistress, and see what help might be forthcoming.
Tubal cannot stand still. The wiry, almost concave-chested man paces back and forth, and multiple times as you were speaking, you could hear his exhalations of distaste and derision. And you hardly finish your last sentence before he says, "Oh yes, please ask Lady Yolande whether she would be of support to the noble humans who have protected her realm against the North for countless ages. It is no secret that she values not human lives."
And this is not an unfamiliar line of argument, I think. And Dirimo sort of weathers it without response, without visible reaction. And he nods and says, "And what exactly would your highness wish from my lady?"
The king looks up. Tubal does not immediately look at him, but glares at you. Almost unsheathed malevolence and contempt in his stare. It's clear that his dislike for you is more than just a personality incompatibility. He hates your kind. But as he senses the movement of the king, he turns towards him and assumes a more deferential posture. Coronast still stares at you, with worry in his eyes. The king says, "What would I want from her Fey Majesty Yolande, the Lady Rolta of all elven kind? Well, what would I want? Here's what I want. Here's what I want. And maybe she'll give it. I want an offer of aid, a commitment of assistance in writing, but with a promise from me, King Belvor IV, that he will not call upon her aid. What I need is the document. I need the promise of the Elven legions at our back, because with that, I can go to Lord Homer, haughty, arrogant paladin of the Shield Lands, and offer him my aid. He seems to think that an offer of aid means that we intend to annex his little kingdom, as if that would be of any benefit to us. But if he senses an alliance with the elves, then it's not merely Furiondi, it is then an alliance. I suppose that entails a small stretching of the truth. What say you, Tirimo?
His Majesty has a limitless ability to scheme and get the results he wants. And it's not totally clear whether Tirimo's being serious or a little sarcastic. And he says, but His Highness must understand, we have spent generations among our people making sure that we do not, as I said, interfere with the machinations of man. I will ask my lady for such a document, and I dare say...
was pulling at his hair.
And he almost... I have not yet looked directly at Tubal. I just, like... He's always sort of, anytime he moves towards my field of vision, I just ever so slightly adjust so that I'm never actually looking at him, but I'm clocking him, and I sort of draw it out just a little bit more when I see him start to get particularly frustrated. I will speak with my lady, and I am sure she will ask what it is that we will receive in return. Yes, I know. You protect our lands from the south. You have protected us in the past, but this is a sea change for the elven people. Openly supporting the human peoples of Furiondi will be quite a change for us.
You do not wish to interfere with the machinations of man. Obfused domestication. You don't want to help us. You've never helped us. And human village along the southern bank of the Wystil Lake have fallen because the elves of the Vestvi have been silent. And in the south, the Uleks have fallen to Turashmak because the elves of Selene did nothing.
He does get, his eyes flare just a little bit, and he says, His Highness would do well. Who was speaking? Was that the king, or was that Tubal?
Tubal.
Great. So Tirimo will say, His Highness would do well to remind his servants that the elves see much and do much that many lesser men cannot hope to understand.
He opens his mouth and begins to speak. And the king cuts him off. Listen, Tirimo, I know that you can pop over to Kendal. Pop over to Unstad for the teleportation circle. From the teleportation circle beneath the palace. Secure me this document from your queen and promise her whatever she needs to hear. I'm good for it. I am. You know, I might scheme a bit, but I do not break my word. This is true, is it not? And points towards Coronast. And Coronast says, no, your son learned nobility from you, my liege. Yes, that's right. He stands silent for just a minute at the memory of his son, and then turns to Tirimo. Go, you go, get it done. You, Tubal, to Amon Fort. Speak with Lord Holmer. Get him to accept our aid, and I will send Tirimo with this promissory note from the elves as soon as he gets it. That's it. I have to relieve myself. And he lumbers heavily out of the chamber.
As he begins
at you.
As he begins to leave, I just want to very subtly sort of cast message and send a message to the king that just says, I am not without pity, your highness. I am sorry for the disappearance of your son and hope for his safe return.
He does not turn to look at you, but at the mention of Thrommel, he pauses just a moment. Belvor puts a hand up against the door frame. He heaves a fat sigh and then lumbers out of the chamber. Tubal looks at you for one moment. I know how this is going to play out, my pointy-eared friend. You're going to fail, because Yolande will not give you what the king wants. And then your traitorous hearts, foul nature will be revealed. And he turns to walk away.
I will turn. So it's at this moment, it's just me and Coronast left in the chamber. Then
it is.
Okay.
Coronast leans heavily on the table and looks at you.
And I will look back at him. Really, I wasn't avoiding his eyes like I was Tubal's, but this is sort of the first time that I've really addressed him directly or looked at him directly and just say, oh there are no words, and I am truly sorry for your loss. What news, if any?
There is none, but he moves towards you and takes one step beyond the normal distance at which one man might address another. And he puts his hand on your heart. I do wish him well. I do wish his return. But I do not pine for him. You have brought me the healing that I needed. And I thank you.
And Dynamo is not great with this, but he sort of puts his hand over Coronast's hand and says, "It is as much a gift to me to ease your suffering, to heal the wounds of loss, as it is for you to receive them."
He takes your hand and brings it up to his lips and kisses over and over. There's much more that I hope that I might receive from you, now that my heart is free.
I hope fervently that the king's son returns safe and sound, but perhaps not immediately. I must be on my way to speak with my lady, but perhaps you can escort me to the circle?
I will. And one last long kiss of your hand. He reaches out to touch your face, then pulls back, looks to the right and to the left, and leans in towards you. I don't trust this place. Do you have to leave right away?
It is late in the day already. Arriving after dark, arriving first thing in the morning, I doubt my lady will notice the difference.
His face lights up. Well, perhaps I could go to your chambers and help you pack.
Perhaps you can.
And he drops your hand, walks to the door, smiling, and then smiles back at you. Well, here we go. And
as I
out.
walk towards, and as he sort of walks out, I follow him and just touch his shoulder and have him turn around and say, "I have a very important rule for you. For each day that I am gone, I will expect to hear of something that you have learned while I was away. You are right not to trust this place. You would do well to keep your eyes and ears open. And I do so love to learn new things from those that I consider close friends."
I understand your meaning on every level. I will be most observant and have much to share with you when you return to me.
And in the meantime, I think perhaps I have a few things that I could teach you now. And I take his hand and leave the room with him.
He follows quite willingly. My friends, that was all 6 months ago. That is not today. Today, 5 strangers stand before a creature belched forth from the pits of the abyss. It leans over all of you. Shiroi stands with it almost looming over him like a dread wave. Around you, winged creatures cry and call, plucking up the forces of the Shieldlands and Furiondi, tossing them back down towards the ground, often sundered in twain with their entrails a long coil between the two halves. And we are back in the heat of battle. It is Shiroi's turn, toe to toe with a demon from the abyss.
All right. So if I, I'm still entangled right now. So, God, what to do? Would it be a constant action for me to untangle my chain sickle from his legs, or can I? Oh no, I can't leave it.
I'm going to say the way that works is very economical. It just goes like with a single twist of the whip of the wrist, you can unshackle it and whip it back towards you.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's too cumbersome to use.
All right, then I will do that, and I would like to try to jump, like try to pounce on his face and try to claw out his eyes.
Oh, wow!
All right, then.
So you're going to try an acrobatic leap up towards his face.
Yes.
If you just want to jump up and hit his face, then that'll be a normal thing. I might attach an acrobatics chest if you actually want to grapple with his head.
All right, let's see how this goes. My dex it's just an straight acrobatic, so that's plus 10.
Yeah.
All right, I am really hoping this hits. That one
You're going to jump towards the fiery maw of this beast. Fantastic. Oh!
27.
Boof!
Nice.
Get it!
Yes! And it was advantage anyway, because I think of her spell, but yeah, I don't know if we want to like try to roll. Let's see if we can get a crit.
No, the 27 is plenty. Describe to me the grace and aplomb with which you execute this brilliant move. What does it look like?
I quickly just like just pull back the chain, almost just like one smooth motion, it comes back all in my hand. I put that away on my right side, and I like get back on all fours, just prep a little bit, and I jump right at his face, just clawing out first, and then I'll pump another fury of blows right into his eyes just to get. Or I don't know if the claws would count.
So basically, the cat becomes airborne and goes in front of his face.
Yeah. All right.
Fantastic. Let's roll some dice.
All right. So with the claws, let me just double check what I am rolling for damage on those. All right. So that's all right. So much damage.
Super Cat Ninja.
That's
Samurai pizza cats. Okay, some of you guys will get the reference.
all right.
Oh,
That's
and
20.
nat 20. Woo!
Outstanding.
All right, and that is a 1d6 plus 5. So let's roll that puppy. Oh.
Well,
Wow.
famine.
You used up your mojo to hit, apparently.
Yep.
All right, but with that, I'm gonna try to. I'll roll the hit again. It's another plus. Oh, so with the 10, am I like on his face currently? Like I'm just the claws are just in his face.
With that acrobatics check, if you want to cling to his horns or swing around to the back of his head, whatever you want to do within reason, I think you can do that.
All right, then with that, I just want to be just holding on to his horns on like one hand and just swiping back and forth with the other one, just repeatedly going for the eyes.
So there you go. You're just kind of hanging from his horn, standing on his shoulder, just meow, 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 catnipping him.
All right, that's a 19. That hits.
That is what you need to hit.
All right.
Nice.
And with 1d6. That's 9 damage.
9 damage.
Totaling up.
There we go.
And how's he looking?
He's looking spectacularly unfazed. So,
Right.
he's now got a cat-like ornament dangling from one horn. He glances at you with a burning fury in his eyes. And at this point, it's Lord Grievering's turn. He stands and turns back to everyone. Retreat! Fall back to secondary positions! And there's just a breath in the battlefield. And everyone turns. Morale visibly breaks. Yes, everyone falls back. but not in an organized military fashion, but with shields clattering to the ground so that they can run more quickly, people clambering over the wounded, and across the bridge course the orcs. In space, vacated by the retreating forces, you all hear vroom, vroom, vroom. And there he is again, riding atop the undead red dragon, sits the high priest of Use himself, Potch, looking down at 5 warriors who have not yet had the wisdom to flee. Thus ends episode 1 of Wheels of War.
I don't
Jesus, Shane, why?
I'm supposed to be the one making these cliffhangers for everyone else.
Is it fun to be on the receiving end of them for once?
I'm so sorry to all of my players from forever.
Now you know how it feels.
Now you know. Isn't that a song? Somebody know that song? Sing that song real quick. Oh well. Since you know so well how it feels, why don't you go first and remind people where you can be found over the course of the week, because everyone loves you and wants to be you or be near you. Go ahead.
Sure. I'm Eugenio. You can find me on my personal Twitter at Eugenio_Vargas, which is just below here. I'm also the Dungeon Master for an actual play podcast called The Last Refuge, known as DM Jazzy Hands on that show. You can find the show on Twitter at DND Last Refuge or dndlastrefuge.com. I am not currently streaming with Variant Roles this coming week, but we're about to kick off. We're working on kicking off a Dungeon of the Mad Mage series that I'll be popping in and out of. So hop on over to the Variant Roles channel and check out what we're doing there. And I think that covers where you can find me this week.
Fantastic. What about you, Alex? Where are you, and how might we draw near to you?
I am on Twitter at AlexCatu, also down there. Much the same as Eugenio. I am on Variant Roles, not streaming there at the moment, but we are starting Mad Mage, and it's going to be great.
Nice.
And that's pretty much it at the moment. Here, Twitter, Variant Roles.
Fantastic. Kevin, where might you be found?
You can find me on here, mostly pretty active at KKudoVA, just right down there. I'm also on Instagram at KKudoVA1, and just all about, if you just search my regular name, Kevin Kudo, on all the other sites, and you'll be sure to find me.
Fantastic. Josh, what are you up to?
I am raging internally at the. I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill him. I'm losing my damn mind. But in the meantime, you can find me on Twitter at Encounter Joshua, and you can also find me on Twitch, where I will be streaming probably D&D content throughout the week. So.
Fantastic. And our dear Tia, last but so infinitely far from least.
Oh, this is going to be a mouthful, everyone. Hi! You can find me in my TMN on Twitter. You can find me here on Encounter Roleplay for Wheels of War. You can find me on Tales of the Grim for some grim, dark Dragonlance D&D stuff. You can find me over on my channel, which has now been rebranded from Laura Lania to Role Players. That's right, that's me in chat, where we are the home of the Trinity campaign. Me and Encounter Joshua are working on that as well. If you are going to be in LA next week, you can find me at Critical Role Live and the Critical Role Live art show. It's gonna be fucking awesome. And you can also find me on that Discord there, where I do my text-based D&D Discord, and where we all just talk about being nerds. And for the moment, that's all I got on my plate.
Is that all? I don't know if I want to continue to associate with such a slacker. Hey, I'm Shane. This is my first regular gig over here on Encounter Roleplay, and I am tickled to be here. If you enjoyed hanging out with me, I can always be found over on the Greyhawk channel on Twitch, where I DM several games a week, and you can follow me on the Twitters at Mage and Sage. And that's it. I really loved all of the fun action going on in chat. That's it for this week, 2 o'clock Eastern Time. Next week, what in the hell is going to happen on Wheels of War? Farewell, everybody. Much love.
Bye.